Part 125. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1241. Zufeng, no. A Niao finally spoke. He had been resisting Yao Fuzong's refining, giving Zufeng time to fight. Unexpectedly, Zufeng came up with a way, but it was the way he least wanted to see. The devouring magic power complemented the original evil thoughts. This was one of the cores that allowed Zufeng to truly control the demon refining tower, but it was contrary to himself. If Zufeng embarked on the path of magic again, even he didn't know what he would become. Good thoughts. Zufeng looked up at the sphere and smiled faintly at the golden light. Brother said that good and evil are only a thought away. All kinds of cultivators in the world practice the righteous way, but they kill people and rob treasures, and do everything they can. Do you say he is a good person? All kinds of demon cultivators in the world enjoy helping mortals. Do you say he is a bad person? Back then, Zufeng practiced the devouring demon art and killed thousands of lives in order to become stronger. That was an evil person. But now, I am practicing the devouring demon art again to get rid of the evil person in front of me. You know better than me how your master wants to do evil. The more Zufeng spoke, the more relaxed he became, and his mind suddenly became much more open. A Niao stopped talking. Of course, he knew what would happen after being refined by Yao Fuzong. Zuyun had helped him analyze it at the beginning. He no longer believed in the excuse that the master helped him practice and expel evil thoughts and no longer produce demons. In this case, everything Yao Fuzong did was evil. Otherwise, why would he seal his memory and let his evil thoughts become the pagoda spirit? If he didn't do evil, why would it be like this? When Yao Fuzong heard these words, he was shocked and asked in surprise, "Your name is Zufeng? Who is your elder brother?" Yes, Zufeng felt the change in Yao Fuzong's tone and grinned, "My name is Zufeng, my elder brother. I don't know if you have heard of him, his name is Zuyun." Zuyun. Yao Fuzong was so angry that he almost bit his teeth. He didn't expect that he would be defeated by Zuyun last time, but he didn't expect that he would be defeated by Zuyun's younger brother this time. It seems that you know him, you are so lucky. This time, Zufeng was really happy and laughed, "I think you will end up in this situation because you met my elder brother. I believe what you said a little bit, you used to be in the Mahayana period. Zufeng, you are looking for death." Feeling the strong sense of ridicule, Yao Fuzong was furious, but in Zufeng's view, he was just incompetent and furious at this time. Although he didn't know why Yao Fuzong couldn't get away, he didn't need to know the reason. As long as the devouring demonic power could devour him directly, it would be fine. It didn't matter whether he could withstand the power of the Mahayana period, the important thing was to suck Yao Fuzong dry. Almost instinctively, Zufeng thrust his palm forward, and the Danshan and the 9 meridians began to contract almost at the same time, generating a suction force. One after another, the demonic power, plus Yao Fuzong's vitality, gradually flowed into the palm, and then into Zufeng's body. But obviously, Zufeng was a little unfamiliar after not devouring for a long time, and the relatively strong power made him very uncomfortable. But still, Zufeng's heart was firm, and this discomfort was nothing compared to the pain he endured back then. If Yao Fuzong could still speak, he would definitely be able to talk and laugh. As time passed, Zufeng's body gradually regained its original feeling, and some details of the devouring demonic power were slowly recalled by Zufeng. Yao Fuzong's face became more and more ugly. He finally felt the horror of the devouring demonic art. There are similar techniques in the spirit world, but this technique is not very popular because of its drawbacks. If you want to continue practicing, you need to swallow constantly. The more you swallow, the more mixed your skills will be, and finally mixed together to form an impurity that will affect the breakthrough of the cultivator. Just like the more pills you swallow, the more residual pill poison will remain in your body, which will also lead to the worse effect of taking the same pill in the future. Devouring demonic art is not a profound technique. But Zhu Feng happened to encounter the demon refining tower at that time, which allowed him to practice to the nascent soul stage in one fell swoop. And Zhu Feng practiced again. There was no bottleneck at all. As long as the realm was reached, he would naturally break through. I don't know how long it took. Zhu Feng went from the early stage of foundation building to the middle stage, and then to the late stage. Yao Fuzong was speechless. He could only let Zhu Feng devour his demonic power and vitality, and he could only barely refine the demon refining tower. And the estimated time is getting longer and longer. From the original 3 days, it became 5 days, and then 10 days. It seemed to be a long time away. Could it be that I, a great Mahayana cultivator, was really going to die in the mortal world? Outside the demon refining tower, countless cultivators looked at the dark giant tower in great shock. Many of them were eager to try when they saw Zhu Feng enter the tower. The demon refining tower was stabbed out by Zhu Feng, but in their eyes, it was more like appearing out of thin air from Yao Fuzong's palm. So, is this a space magic weapon of a powerful person? No, it is a space spiritual weapon. It is so huge and weird, maybe there are treasures inside. For a while, these cultivators were a little jealous, but they were afraid of Yao Fuzong and Zhu Feng, so they didn't rush in. This gave these cultivators a time difference, and they ran around to tell each other, calling friends to find help. There is courage when there are many people, and this is the same everywhere. A few days have passed, and news about the giant tower reaching the sky is spreading in almost half of the south of Yunzhou. The giant tower Tongtian was the name they gave it. But no matter what happened here, Mu Incarnation never heard it. At this time, he was on the barren rock mountain, and in front of him was a stone cliff with 16 characters carved on it. Every plant, tree, monster, or stone can become an immortal. I don't have spiritual roots, so why can't I? This is what Ye Yang left behind. Even if countless years have passed, even his son can attain enlightenment and ascend at any time, and there is still an indelible domineering spirit between the lines. Heroes. Mu Jianying sighed, unable to come up with any words to describe this legendary figure. How difficult it would be to ascend without spiritual roots. But Ye Yangda did it. If you go to the fairy world, you must meet this character. Unless he doesn't want to see him. Mujia lowered his head and looked at the teleportation formation under his feet, and then took out the formation order. He meditated here for several days, and there was a faint light in his mind, but he could not find any connection. Based on instinct, he felt that the formation order had a certain connection with these teleportation formations, and might even be from the same sect. Perhaps, my attainments are still a little shallow. It would be great if I could enter the world of the universe. Ask the formation immortal, maybe he can answer my questions. The formation immortal told Zhu Yun that time and space are the most powerful and universal laws in the fairy world. There are so many immortals who practice this law, but there are very few who truly master these two laws. Time is everywhere and space is everywhere. As for the teleportation array, it is placed on the surface to make use of space. But Mu Jiajia felt that there must be the law of time in this. Perhaps, he just couldn't understand the truth and couldn't understand the meaning of these formation patterns. At this moment, he was a little envious of Tang Tiangang. He is also a monk without spiritual roots, but he has used the formation method to cultivate to the elixir formation stage, and even set up a teleportation formation in the city he manages. Although, in his opinion at this time, the teleportation array was extremely rough, it was also an existence beyond the reach of the wood avatar. If Tang Tiangang is still alive, with my current strength, I can ask him for help. Or maybe Aunt Tang is still in the lower realm, and I might be able to learn a lot from her. It's a pity. The wooden incarnation shook his head. It's a waste of time to stay any longer. It's time to go back to the spirit world. If we delay the ascension secret realm, how will we meet the real body? I don't know when this universe world will be connected to the isolated island. Mujiajia did not dare to use the formation order again, for fear that it would transfer him to another strange place. However, if you go to Peepa realm, you can use the teleportation array under your feet. But this teleportation array requires spiritual energy to be stimulated. Although there is still a lot of spiritual energy in the body, habit allows Mu to incarnate into the island of the universe. Let's get enough spiritual power first, and then set off. After appearing on the platform, the wooden incarnation sat down cross-legged, but what puzzled him was that there was another golden light between his eyebrows, and the immortal soul hammer flew out uncontrollably, turning straight up along with the golden light, and finally hanging high above his head. Huh! Mujiawa looked up and found that the universe world that he hadn't seen for a long time seemed much closer. It used to be possible to see such a large size using the divine eye technique, but now, he can do this with just his naked eyes. This shows. His breathing suddenly stagnated, and he was still in the mood to practice his energy. He stood on the platform, his eyes following the golden light. You can't be wrong, it's the great universe world. That tree is the world tree, and that mountain is the world mountain. Under the mountain, is the world lake. My God, does this mean that I can enter the great universe world? Mujianing couldn't hold back his surprise, but he couldn't help but think of what Qin Tianji had calculated, and he was full of disdain. This old boy actually calculated wrong, and said that I would meet the real body in the secret realm of ascension. Such changes made Zhu Feng change his mind, and he was filled with joy as he watched the world of the universe move closer to the side at a speed visible to the naked eye. The long nights are long and I have no intention of practicing. This time is really hard to endure. The wooden incarnation just maintained the same posture, watching the world of the universe approaching. Gradually, the sea area of the isolated island changed from calm to waves, and then to huge waves. He was also excited about it. It wasn't until the isolated island began to shake and the universe stopped moving that he suddenly woke up. Without refining, how could the two worlds be connected into one? The fragments of the universe are in the main body, but this fragment is in myself, separated by who knows how many places. That's a mistake, Mujiawa cursed and sat down, forcing himself to eliminate the distracting thoughts in his mind and began to refine his qi. The plan is about to change again. Is this piece of shit Qin Tianji really right? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1242. Just as the wood incarnation was cultivating attentively, the vibration of the great universe island gradually stopped. As the wood spirit power in his body slowly filled up, the height of the immortal soul hammer flew higher and higher. However, it did not fly into the void, but remained at a certain height, still within the range of the great universe island. For a long time, the wood incarnation opened his eyes. It's almost time, it's time to go to the Peepa realm and then to the spirit realm. With a thought, the wood incarnation returned to the desolate stone mountain. He looked in the direction of his former home from a distance, and then he retracted his gaze. When he came to the desolate stone mountain, he did not stay for a moment. At his level, he would never be contaminated by the world again. But the worldly bond was not broken, and it remained in his heart. Even if it lasted for 100 years, 1,000 years, or 10,000 years. As long as he did not die, that mortal father would never die and would always live in his heart. I believe Zhu Feng will leave a descendant for our old Zhu family. Calculating the time, it's almost time, right? The wood incarnation smiled, muttered to himself, and looked down at the teleportation array under his feet. But just as he was about to inject spiritual power to activate the formation, a loud noise came from the extreme south of the sky. Boom! The sound was so loud that it swept away the clouds and even shook the desolate stone mountain. The face of the wood incarnation changed. Under the restrictions of the heavenly Dao, it was impossible for such a big movement to occur in the mortal world. Moreover, this was in Yunzhou, where the spiritual energy was thin and could not create such a scene. Listening to this sound, it seems to come from the savage sea. Could it be that a giant beast attacked Yunzhou? He only thought of this possibility, and his face suddenly became gloomy. After going to the spirit world, he knew that the savage sea was connected, and the demon cultivators in it would become bigger and bigger as they continued to cultivate because they had no realm. When Zhang Daozun and Wu Xing Ren met at the edge of the sea in the spirit world, it was said that Wu Su Tiansu and others encountered a deep-sea giant demon floating on the surface and leaping into the sky. Could it be that this place is also a natural phenomenon, with golden light coming out? Thinking of this, the wood incarnation decided to go and explore. With a flash of his figure, he fled far away. At this moment, in the demon refining tower, it was extremely peaceful. The loud noise before was emitted by the demon refining tower. And it was Zhu Feng who created this situation. When he was desperate to devour Yao Fuzong, he finally did it. The demon refining tower was originally Zhu Feng's natal spiritual weapon. As long as Zhu Feng was not dead, Yao Fuzong's vitality and strength would be used by him. From the peak of the late foundation building stage, he broke through to the peak of the late Jindan stage in one fell swoop, and only stopped until the early Yuanying stage. But Zhu Feng's situation was not good. The huge power made him unable to bear it, and he immediately fainted, and even a Niao fell into a deep sleep. The loud noise just now was the collapse of the demon refining tower, and even the top of the tower fell into the sea. But no innocent people were hurt, because those cultivators finally entered the demon refining tower. Not only that, there were many cultivators who came from other places, and they were also in the tower at this time. These monks didn't know what was happening outside the tower, and they didn't even feel the vibration. Because the demon refining tower was another world. It just lacked the laws of space and time, so it couldn't be considered a world. They didn't even know that they almost brushed shoulders with death just now. Perhaps, this is the sense of security that ignorance gives them, and they are still exploring in the tower. In addition, Yu Lingshan and others from Misty Mountain Village also got the news early and came to the tower. But they are destined to get nothing. When the wood incarnation was suspended in the air, watching the demon refining tower lying on the ground like this, one end was constantly hit by the waves, and he was also terrified in his heart. Isn't the demon refining tower guarded by Master at the 7-star gate? How could it appear here? Could it be that Yao Fuzong took the demon refining tower? In the end, there was some accident. He had no news about Yao Fuzong, but the demon refining tower had an accident, so he had to make such a guess. No, go ask Master, maybe he knows something. I just hope he doesn't get into trouble. The wood incarnation stopped staying and decided to go to the Spirit Sword sect first. If something happened to the 7 Stars sect, maybe he could still be found in the Spirit Sword sect. Soon, the wood incarnation arrived at the Spirit Sword section. He revisited the old place, but he didn't have any thoughts. Instead, he flew straight into the valley. But there was no one in the valley, so the wood incarnation quickly spread his spiritual consciousness, and the entire sect was clear at a glance. There was no Yesuanhua, but he found Yu Yulin and Zhou Yu, only to see that the two of them were frowning, as if they had encountered some trouble. What's wrong with you? The wood incarnation only needed a teleportation to appear in front of the two. Zhu Xian. Little Zhu brother. The two said in unison, and their faces were suddenly full of surprise. The wood incarnation nodded slightly, and cut to the chase, saying, I came here to find Master. Did you encounter any trouble? 7th Master is not here, Yu Yulin said hurriedly. Not long ago, there was a loud noise from the sea. I don't know what happened. I'm worried that something happened to my daughter. Your daughter is fine. I met her in Misty Mountain Village. I came here because of the loud noise. The wood incarnation shook his head. Since Master is not here, is he still in the Seven Stars Gate? I don't know whether he is alive or dead. Brother Xiaozu, I know Lingshan went there to train, but I'm worried that the disciples in the sect will pass the news to him and break into a towering tower. Zhou Ruyu's words made Mu Huashan stunned, but then he realized that the so-called towering tower was probably the demon refining tower. His face condensed and said, "You also know how long that tower has existed?" "It's been a while," Zhou Ruyu said with a wry smile. "A few days ago, there was a sudden news from the Sea Region city that a natural treasure was born, and some cultivators called their friends and rushed there. We had to stay in the sect to preside over the situation, so we didn't go. It didn't matter at first, but with the loud noise just now, I was afraid that Lingshan had also gone in, so I discussed with senior brother Yu who would go to take a look." Mu Huashan frowned. Yu Lingshan and he had only met once, but she looked particularly likable. He liked this little girl from the bottom of his heart, otherwise, he would not have given her a few medium-grade spirit stones. According to these two people, the demon refining tower should have existed for some time. Then, the demon refining tower has just undergone a change. Why not go and take a look, and then go find the master? Swish. At this time, there was a sound of breaking air outside the door, and the wood incarnation subconsciously sent his spiritual consciousness over. His expression froze, and then he was ecstatic. "The master is here!" he exclaimed in surprise, and his figure quickly disappeared. When he appeared again, he was already in mid-air. "Master! Xiaohuo! Huh!" Seeing that Yesuanhua was safe and sound, the wood incarnation was naturally very excited. But when he looked at Xiaohuo again, he saw that he was seriously injured, as if he could die at any time, and his face immediately sank. "Master!" Xiaohuo was extremely excited, and immediately turned into a human form and knelt on the ground out of thin air. "What's wrong with you? Get up and talk." The wood incarnation hurried forward to help it up. "It's a long story," Xiaohuo smiled bitterly, and told about his experience after he separated from Zuyun. When he heard that there was still a fake wood spirit bead in Xiaohuo's body, and Mu Qingxin's soul was living in it, and even wanted to seize control of his body, he was also stunned. How many years have passed, and Mu Qingxin is still alive? "Zuyun, why are you back to the mortal world again? Let's go down and talk." Yesuanhua didn't like to talk about things like this, and pointed to the valley and said, "Okay, let's go down and talk." The three of them took a sharp turn and sat on the ground after entering the valley. "Master, is there something wrong with the demon refining tower?" he asked hurriedly, and Xiaohuo told him that Yao Fuzong actually took over Zhao Kamang's body. And Zhao Kamang did it to save him, which made the wood incarnation sigh. Zuyun and Zhao Kamang have already eliminated their grievances, but the last road was chosen by Zhao Kamang himself. He didn't want to stay in the world of the universe too comfortably. Just like Chen Hua at the beginning. He chose his own path and died in the end. But there was no time to sigh now, the matter of the demon refining tower was more important. "Have you seen the demon refining tower?" Yesuanhua was a little surprised. He had rushed all the way from Dongsheng realm, but he had not heard any movement here. Something happened. Mu Huashan saw Yesuanhua's reaction and knew that he must be familiar with the demon refining tower, and it was not a change. "The demon refining tower is now in the sea city." Yesuanhua was even more surprised and said, "Then have you seen Zhu Feng?" "Zhu Feng?" At this time, Mu Huashan's face changed. "Isn't Zhu Feng in Huangshi Mountain? Why is he?" Yesuanhua looked strange and said, "Did you see Zhu Feng? He has come out of Huangshi Mountain. As soon as he came out, he went to Dongsheng realm through Lingjian sect, and then accidentally refined the demon refining tower. He told me that he still wanted to cultivate immortality, and you agreed. But the seven-star sect was not suitable for him, so he decided to return to Yunzhou to cultivate. Yesuanhua also told everything he knew about Zhu Feng in detail. With every word he said, Mu Huashan's face became uglier. He was not afraid of anything else, but he was afraid that the strange phenomenon in the demon refining tower was caused by him. He even led so many cultivators into it. Could it be that he repeated the same mistake and recultivated the devouring demon art to devour all those cultivators, thereby improving his realm? Wood Incarnation did not dare to tell Yesuanhua his guess, because he was afraid that Yesuanhua would blame himself for it, so he skipped the topic and said, "Why did you come back from Dongshenjing?" Xiaohuo said in a deep voice, Yao Fuzong should have gone to Dongshenjing, but he didn't know where the demon refining tower was. Another point is that he was practicing the 10,000 demons art, and he was seriously injured, so he needed the demon pills of demon beasts to recover. In the end, he was discovered by the fairy Lian, who chased him all the way, but he escaped. So we divided our troops into several groups and rushed here from Dongshenjing, so that Yao Fuzong would have nowhere to go. Wood Incarnation said in surprise, "You mean, Yao Fuzong is also in Yun state?" Not sure. Yesuanhua stood up, looked towards the south, and said, "The fire demon saint and I came from the inland, while Nishang and Yezhi went down the coast." When Dan Lao went to the fire dragon sect, he would tell the Taoist friends in Peepa realm to come through Yao realm, and then he would go to Yasha realm and ask the Taoist friends to go through the 10,000 mountains, through Chu state, and then around the sea. Yao Fuzong was seriously injured, so we wanted to take the opportunity to kill him. If he recovered, I'm afraid that this mortal world would be in ruins again. The Wood Incarnation took a deep breath, his eyes flashing. There is no doubt that Yao Fuzong must be in Yunzhou, and he may even be in the demon refining tower. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1243. The Wood Incarnation is not random. What is certain is that Yao Fuzong took away Zhao Kamang, and he didn't know how much information he could get about himself. But there is no doubt that Zhao Kamang has also practiced the 10,000 demon art, so the source of his previous demon pills will definitely be clear. It's difficult to do things in Dongshenjing, but in Yunzhou, it couldn't be more convenient. He can go to sea to obtain demon pills by himself, or he can purchase demon pills in Sea City. I wanted to deceive others, and then I met Zhu Feng who was carrying the demon refining tower. Hearing this, Yesuanhua was also shocked and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Let's go over quickly and kill Yao Fuzong." Everything that happened during this period can be said to be the most chaotic time since Zhu Yun left the mortal world. All the powerful monks in the mortal world were running back and forth and almost had no time to practice properly. Originally, those monks who were about to leave planned to practice hard during this period, and then go to the spirit world to break through to the divine transformation stage in one fell swoop. But because of Yao Fuzong, they have been busy. You stay here, I'll go over. Yesuanhua was only at the stage of forming pills, and Xiaohua was seriously injured. If these two people went over, they might not be able to help. No, then Yao Fuzong is struggling to his death. What if he fights to the death and hurts you? Yesuanhua naturally refused, and Xiaohua even said, "How can there be any reason for me to hide behind when my master goes into battle? Besides, Lao Zhao died because of me, and I must avenge him." Mujiawa was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, "Okay. Let's go together then. However, I have to say it first, and you must listen to me in everything." After that, he took out some middle-grade spiritual stones and distributed them to Yesuanhua and Xiaohuo, then rushed out of the valley and continued towards Hiu City. The journey of more than 100 miles will not take long. Soon, they saw the demon refining tower that had fallen on the shore. Without saying a word, Mujiwa opened the bronze door and rushed in. A familiar cold demonic energy emerged in the space inside the tower, and Mujiji's face suddenly turned cold. The devouring demonic art is the devouring demonic art. Zhu Feng should be killed if he steps on the demonic path again. Mujiwa gritted his teeth and said, I gave him a chance, but he still dared to fool me. Yasuanhua, however, was calmer and said, Zhu Yun is not in a hurry. I think Zhu Feng is not that kind of person. He has really changed his mind. Really? But Mujiwa shook his head and said in a very firm tone, Zhu Feng has a lot of thoughts, maybe he lied to you. Moreover, Yao Fuzong has lived for tens of thousands of years, and the city is deeper. If these two people work together, I am afraid that there's no going back. Speaking of this, Mujianing also simply confessed, saying, Master, Xiao Huo, I am just an incarnation, and I will die here if I die, but you will be gone when you die, so. After the words fell, Mu incarnation suddenly had a surge of spiritual power, knocked both of them to the ground, and then sent them to the isolated island of Dazhu. I can't take this fragment with me. If it is obtained by Zhu Feng or Yao Fuzong, they will be in more danger. Find the exit first, and then throw the fragment out. This is the only way Mujiajia can think of. The exit and the entrance to the second floor were both on the rocky mountain. After identifying the direction for a while, the wooden incarnation ran wildly. Along the way, he met many monks, and their expressions changed greatly when they saw Mu's transformation. The demon refining tower is in the mortal world, and since it has not yet become a world, it is also affected by the way of heaven. This means that the strength of Mu incarnation can only reach the nascent soul stage. He had no time to take care of the young monks, but those young monks made up their mind, thinking that the wooden incarnation must have discovered the rare treasure because of its hurry. Wealth is sought in danger. Follow the elders and dare not eat meat. Drinking some soup should be fine. Although he couldn't catch up with the wooden incarnation, his direction could be determined. Countless monks followed the incarnation of Mu, including Yu Lingshan's group. Guys, do you think that looks like my uncle? Yu Lingshan had sharp eyes. Although the wooden incarnation flashed past very quickly, she could not see the face clearly, otherwise she would not have thought so. Mujiajia had already revealed his true colors, and Yu Lingshan could only identify him through his clothes and body shape. It seems so. Everyone was overjoyed. They didn't expect the seniors to come here. If they could find a treasure or something, wouldn't they also have a backer? This is a great opportunity. Thinking of this, they also tried their best to run towards that direction. Among all the monks who entered the tower, several people in the foundation building stage were considered a powerful force. No one dared to go with them and they also stayed out of the way. Yu Lingshan and others were not worried about someone sneaking up on them. Even those monks deliberately kept a certain distance from Yu Lingshan and others. This resulted in Yu Lingshan and the others being the first to find the entrance. After Mujiwa rushed to the stone mountain, he chose to leave the demon refining tower without hesitation. After finding a reef, he threw the fragments into the sea water, and then returned to the demon refining tower. Every time you enter the demon refining tower, the location you appear in is not fixed. But this time, it was extremely far away from Shishan. Mu incarnation was helpless and could only rush over there as much as possible. After a long time, Yu Lingshan discovered the light gate on the stone mountain. This must be the entrance to the next level, my uncle must have gone in. Yu Lingshan said with great excitement. Although there was a group of monks behind her, they were still far apart. And that light door can't be seen clearly even if you don't look carefully. Go, hold on tight, there's someone coming from behind. A group of casual cultivators originally wanted to guard this light door and prevent others from entering, But they could only think about it and did not dare to take any action. No one dares to break the rules set by Zhu Xian. You can't bully others by occupying a higher realm for no reason. Hurry up, I won't even be able to drink the soup later. Everyone passed through the light door together, and before they could see the scene on the second floor clearly, they saw another light door. They were all stunned. Is this tower so convenient? It's like the stairs of a small building, all connected together. Without thinking, they walked through the light door again. It wasn't until the 8th floor that they stopped for a moment. If I remember correctly, there are rumors that the Babel Tower has 9 floors. Thinking that he could reach the top so easily, a casual cultivator felt dissatisfied. Another person knew what he meant and said, Zhu Xian's rule is not to kill people randomly and steal treasures, but if we cover this light door so that others can't find it. Yu Lingshan frowned and said, isn't this bad? Natural treasures are always found by those who are destined to possess them. What fairy you said is inappropriate. What is fate? It's hard for us to define such an illusory thing. For example, why did we get here one step ahead of them? Didn't we meet our seniors? You mean my uncle? Yu Lingshan somewhat understood what they meant. That's right, if it weren't for seniors, they wouldn't give in even if they wanted to. Moreover, if there are really extra things in it, seniors would definitely reward us. Yeah, they don't have a turn. I think that after we get what we deserve, we will leave this tower and open the light door. We don't bully them with our realm strength, so it's not bad. The rules. After the persuasion of these people, Yu Lingshan felt that there was some truth, so she stopped talking and watched silently as these people tried their best to lay some simple deceptions, such as restrictions. After doing all this, they plunged into the light gate. The strength of these casual cultivators was not weak, and they were able to do things so fast that they were not discovered by the later cultivators. So no one chased them to the 9th floor. The 9th floor was a small space, and they saw Zhu Feng lying on the ground at a glance, as well as a shriveled corpse, which was naturally that of Yao Fuzong. There's nothing here. All the monks looked around, but only Yu Lingshan ran towards Zhu Feng. Uncle, what's wrong with you? She had preconceived ideas and guessed that Zhu Feng was seizing the treasure and hurting both sides. The air in these 9 layers was strange and faintly filled with demonic power. The others did not dare to move, but Yu Lingshan was kind-hearted. She had never seen the dangers of the world of immortality since she was born, so how could she think so much about it? She only remembered that Zhu Feng was her uncle. Now that his fate was uncertain, of course he had to come and see what was going on. Besides, there doesn't seem to be any danger for the time being. Running to Zhu Feng, Yu Lingshan discovered that although Zhu Feng looked like a dead person, there was still some turbulent spiritual power in his body that frightened him. It's unmistakable, it must be his uncle. When it just flew over, the momentum was similar to this. Yu Lingshan thought this way. As for the surge of spiritual power, she thought it was caused by the fight. Come here and take a look. Whoever brought the healing elixir, can I borrow it from you? With tears in her eyes, Yu Lingshan looked back at the monks and asked for help. She knew that these people had prepared a lot of pills and were planning to enter the misty mountain forest to fight. However, they hurried after hearing about the Tongtian giant tower. Come over. The misty mountains and forests have always been there, but this opportunity is very likely to be gone. This. A casual cultivator said hesitantly, Senior is so powerful, I'm afraid the elixirs of us can't save him, right? Yes, Senior is at least in the nascent soul stage. Our elixirs are only useful for foundation building, so giving them to him is a waste. Yu Lingshan said angrily, even if it's a waste, it's still better than nothing. Think about it, Senior even gave you spirit stones. As soon as the spirit stone was mentioned, Yu Lingshan suddenly remembered that the spirit power of the spirit stone was particularly pure, and it might be useful to the uncle. Thinking of the clue, she quickly took out all the middle-grade spiritual stones and stuffed them into Zhu Feng's hand. Call out. Before Zhu Feng fell into coma, he had always adhered to his faith and could not stop the magic devouring technique. Therefore, even if Yao Fuzong is absorbed to death, his body's instinct is still running the devouring demonic art. The spiritual power of the middle-grade spiritual stone continued to flow into his body. If Yu Lingshan hadn't directly touched Zhu Feng's hand, I'm afraid even she would have been sucked dry by Zhu Feng in one breath. Yu Lingshan still didn't know the danger. When she saw that the spirit stone was useful, she turned around and shouted in surprise, "Quick, take out the spirit stone quickly. My uncle is saved." I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1244. A few spiritual stones were not enough for Zhu Feng to absorb. When Yu Lingshan turned her head, the spiritual stones had been sucked up. With these huge spiritual power supplements, Zhu Feng's face actually looked better. First, the spiritual power in this middle-grade spiritual stone was more pure, suppressing the demonic power that originally belonged to Yao Fuzong. Second, the spiritual power swallowed in was more like Zhu Feng's own refining and absorption, which suppressed the wanton rampage of those demonic powers invisibly, which made Zhu Feng calm down a lot. It can be said that Yu Lingshan helped invisibly, but it can also be said that the unintentional act of the wood incarnation saved Zhu Feng's life. Zhu Feng recultivated the devouring magic power, and everything was done by the instinct of the body, not controlled by his own thoughts, so once the devouring was turned on, he could not stop at all, not to mention that he had fainted. Therefore, the body would devour desperately until it exploded and died. The reason why he could persist for so long was because Zhu Feng had broken through to the nascent soul stage, and his body could withstand this realm. But because he was unconscious, he couldn't refine these demonic powers, and he would still die in the end. Fortunately, this middle-grade spirit stone that could only appear in the spirit world rushed into his body with extremely powerful and pure spiritual power, stabilizing his life. But still, Zhu Feng was still unconscious. Even after these few spirit stones, he had already broken through from the early stage of the nascent soul to the middle stage of the nascent soul. In the 9-layer space, the wandering spiritual power and demonic power began to entangle and surge. A group of foundation building period just handed the spirit stones to Yu Lingshan and found such a change, all of them were terrified. Seniors are seniors. They can break through when they are about to die. It's so terrifying. Let's go. One of them said. If you want to go, go. He is my uncle. I won't go. Yu Lingshan felt that these were too disloyal. Isn't it just to take back the spirit stones that my uncle gave you? When my uncle wakes up, he will know that you have helped, and he will at least give him a few more spirit stones. Fairy Yu, it's not that we want to leave, it's just that this place is too weird, and we dare not stay for long. Who said this is the Tower of Tongtian? Yes, Fairy Yu, you are from a famous family, and you are the descendant of this senior, but we are just casual cultivators, and the Wangxian sect is also far away. Everyone was talking, and Yu Lingshan was silent for a moment. She knew that what these people said was right. But to be honest, she still wanted to stay here. Seeing that Yu Lingshan did not respond, these cultivators did not know what to do. You looked at me, and I looked at you. Just when they were hesitant, the wood incarnation finally arrived outside the light gate on the 8th floor. Those crude restrictions could not escape his eyes at all, and he could see through them at a glance without even using the breaking void spirit eye technique. Is this what Zhu Feng did? At first, the wood incarnation still didn't believe it. He knew that Zhu Feng would use the 9 transformations 9 suns formation. If he wanted to prevent those ordinary cultivators from coming in and interfering with him, there was no need to use these ordinary and extraordinary restrictions. Instead, he could just let those cultivators in and then devour them. This also made the wood incarnation suspicious, and he didn't break into the light gate directly. Could it be that he and Yao Fuzong are playing some conspiracy again? The wood incarnation couldn't figure it out, and people kept coming to the 7th floor. Seeing the wood incarnation standing there, they also avoided it. After a long time, the wood incarnation sneered and decided to enter it. No matter what, the demon refining tower cannot be controlled by evil people. Whether it's Yao Fuzong or Zhu Feng. If there is a trace of evil thoughts, he will kill them. Boom. As his mind went, the wood incarnation slammed his palm and destroyed all the restrictions. The mighty sound frightened the young monks and made them flee in all directions, not knowing who had angered the senior. But when the light gate appeared and they saw the wood incarnation jumping into the light gate, their eyes lit up. It turned out that the senior had discovered the entrance. However, the remaining power of the wood incarnation made the young monks dare not move rashly. The wood incarnation's eyes darkened, and he saw a group of monks he had seen in the misty mountain village. With just a slight glance, he also found Yu Lingshan half kneeling in front of Zhu Feng. At the same time, the magic light on Zhu Feng's body flickered, which meant that he had been running the devouring magic power. "Little girl, come back quickly." The wood incarnation was startled, and while speaking, he flashed forward and picked up Yu Lingshan. "Who are you?" Yu Lingshan kept struggling, and her heart was extremely flustered. But how could she break free from the wood incarnation? "I'm your uncle." The wood incarnation said unhappily, but was stunned again. Yu Lingshan didn't recognize herself and knelt beside Zhu Feng. She immediately smiled bitterly in her heart and said, "I'm your uncle too." "You're my uncle too." Finding that the other party had no intention of hurting her, Yu Lingshan stopped her actions and felt very strange in her heart. What happened in the past few days? There were so many uncles. She turned her head back instinctively, and her face changed again. Because the original face of the wood incarnation is well known in Yunzhou. Zhu Yun, Zhu Xian. My uncle is Zhu Xian? Yu Lingshan stared, unable to say a word. Mu Jiahua didn't react. He thought Yu Lingshan knew him, so he put her down. He was about to tell her how dangerous Zhu Feng was, but suddenly there were several strong winds behind him. "Call out." Wow! Bang! It turned out that those in the foundation building stage were all attacking the wooden incarnation. "Stop!" Yu Lingshan was frightened and quickly reminded her. But it's too late. The attacks from several foundation establishment stagers all fell on the body of the wood avatar. Now that it was over, Yu Lingshan quickly explained, "Zhu Xian, ah no, uncle, they thought you were going to hurt me, so they wanted to help me out." Mujia was unharmed and looked back with a smile. "It doesn't matter, they didn't see me clearly." When several foundation building stagers heard Yu Lingshan begging for mercy on their behalf, they secretly wondered why there was someone named Zhu Xian. But when they saw the face of Mujiajia clearly, they all felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Thump! 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 Zhu Xian actually came to this tower? Is this really a giant tower that reaches the sky? Why are you here? Knowing that these people had a misunderstanding, Mu Incarnation would not argue with them, so he couldn't help but ask. He could feel that there was no danger in the tower for the time being, and even guessed something when he saw the bodies of Zhu Feng and Zhao Kamang. Maybe Yesuan Hua's guess is right. Zhu Feng used the devouring demonic skill to directly suck up Yao Fuzong, who had taken away Zhao Kamang. As long as Zhu Feng wakes up and asks the whole story. "We heard that a fairy treasure was born here, so we came here. But we didn't expect that my uncle would be in a coma here, so we wanted to help him." Yu Lingshan said weakly, and then whispered, "Zhu Xian, are you really my uncle?" Mu Jiahua laughed and said, "Didn't your father and mother tell you?" "No." Yu Lingshan shook her head repeatedly and said, My father and my mother let me practice by myself and never took the initiative to tell me anything other than practice. But the senior brothers in the sect once said that Zhu Xian is our spiritual sword. Zhong's people. Then just go back and ask. Your father and your mother are very worried. You should go back quickly to report that they are safe. And you, this place is not a giant tower that reaches the sky, and there is no treasure to be found. Even here is full of if you are not careful, you will be like him. As he said this, Mu turned around and pointed at Zhao Kamang, feeling extremely sad in his heart. Zhao Kamang was like skin and bones, and had even rotted for a long time, and his face was hideous and terrifying. No one had ever seen such a strange scene before. Yu Lingshan was worried about Zhu Feng at that time, so she rushed forward. At this time, the appearance of the wooden incarnation made them feel extremely relieved. When they took a closer look, they were all shocked. Then shall we go back? Several people in the foundation building stage were surprised, happy, and a little disappointed. Naturally, they were surprised and happy to see the legendary Zhu Xian. What's disappointing is that they caught up with the middle grade spiritual stone. Mu Jiawa understood, and then took out a large number of middle grade spiritual stones, and each person received a few. Go and look elsewhere in the tower. If there are people, call them back. I can't guarantee when this tower will get out of control. If it gets out of control, I can't guarantee that you will survive. But what is certain is that at least within one day, there is no problem. Mu Jiawa observed Zhu Feng. If he didn't take action, it would take some time before he could wake up. Of course, this is only possible. There are spiritual stones again, and they are even more than what Fairy Yu's uncle gave me. These foundation builders were immediately satisfied, and they knelt down and thanked the wooden incarnation again and again, showing great piety. Mu Jiawa waved his hand nonchalantly, smiled and told them to get up. There was no need to be so formal. But suddenly, he was stunned and even his breathing stopped. I saw a very fine golden light emerging from the brows of these people, slowly moving towards his eyebrows. He had seen this kind of golden light several times. No, to be precise, Zhu Yun and him should have met several times. It was this kind of golden light that once broke through to the stage of divine transformation in the universe world. Once in the immortal light sect, I saw my huge golden sculpture, which was also glowing with an extremely thick golden light. Although the golden light of these people is very subtle, it is so subtle that it may be blown away by a gust of wind. But he can still be sure that these golden lights are the same and belong to the same kind. In such a daze, the golden light finally reached the center of Mu Jianying's eyebrows. Boom! There was a loud thundering sound in my mind. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1245. I don't know what happened during these foundation building stages, but I caught a glimpse of the wooden incarnation's hand waving from the corner of my eye. He just happened to finish praying, and then stood up to leave. Xianxia, Zhu Xian, let us go. Seeing Yu Lingshan standing there motionless, one of the foundation establishment stagers spoke in a low voice. Look at Zhu Xian. Yu Lingshan was standing next to Mu Hua. Looking from the side, Mu Hua seemed to have lost his mind and was motionless. Everyone looked carefully and were shocked when they discovered such an abnormality. After a few breaths, it was discovered that the wooden incarnation did not move at all, but the breath was still there, and someone frowned and said, "It seems, he has entered a state of enlightenment. I have heard that this should be a breakthrough in the state of mind. Oh my God, is Zhu Xian going to make a breakthrough too?" Everyone was extremely shocked. Is this a powerful cultivation method that can be practiced anytime and anywhere to achieve breakthroughs? Let's go quickly. If there is a powerful breakthrough, if a little bit of spiritual power comes out, we will die immediately. One of them pulled the sluggish Yu Lingshan, regardless of whether she wanted to or not, and pulled her into the light door. Remember this. The wooden incarnation seemed to be out of control, and his mind was entirely in the Zi mansion. It was dark everywhere, like a void. However, deep in the void, there is an ultimate golden light. Immortal Soul Hammer. Originally, the Immortal Soul Hammer was also glowing with golden light, which was the original light of the Immortal Soul Hammer. It was different from the golden light that appeared between the eyebrows in these foundation building stages. But after those few rays of golden light entered the eyebrows, they quickly rushed into the Zi mansion. The Immortal Soul Hammer seemed to come alive, absorbing all the golden light and starting to change. Clang! 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 Sudden. The Immortal Soul Hammer begins to beat. It is not like the Yuan Shen who shaped the wooden incarnation like before, but the void beats it with great regularity. What's going on? Mujiwa was completely puzzled. In the isolated island of Dazhu, the Immortal Soul Hammer knocked his soul into pulp on the platform again and again. After recovering, he knocked again, and after knocking it, he recovered again. In this way, his soul has also become extremely solid. But at that time, only Yuan Shen was on the island in the universe. And now, the Immortal Soul Hammer is actually knocking in his Zifu, so what is it knocking on? Mujiwa couldn't feel the changes in his body, but the beating sound made him slowly calm down. Could it be that you are helping me meditate? The wooden incarnation suddenly became weird, but obviously, it was just like it was then, and it was beyond control. He couldn't wake up either. On the contrary, Zhu Feng suddenly woke up after getting some spiritual stones. But time has passed several months. I'm not dead. Zhu Feng was still lying on the ground. After the demon power was impacted by the spiritual power, he finally merged into one body. As for Zhu Feng, his realm has also stabilized at the mid-nascent soul stage. Looking at the top of the tower, he knew that Yao Fuzong must be dead, but the spiritual power in his body made him completely confused. It stands to reason that no matter what power he swallows with the demon-devouring skill he practices, it will eventually turn into demonic power. But at this time, spiritual power was flowing within his body, and there was a faint aura of demonic power. Could it be that without the help of my original evil thoughts, I wouldn't be able to reach the same situation as before? I wish Feng only found this difference. That's all. Anyway, the devouring demonic art is just for killing Yao Fuzong, and I just want to be a sword cultivator. This power is enough for me to drive the demon refining tower. It's just that he has returned to the nascent soul stage, or even reached the middle stage. I didn't expect it, however, I won't be able to use it in the future. The speed of practicing the devouring demon technique is too fast, and I haven't practiced it beyond nascent soul. I'm afraid it will be too fast and my state of mind will be unstable, and the foundation will be unreliable. Zhu Feng muttered to himself, shook his head and sat up. Big brother. He saw the wooden incarnation standing in front of him at a glance, his face full of disbelief. However, Mu Hua was in Zi mansion and did not respond, so Zhu Feng also discovered the problem and hurriedly stepped forward to check. Huh? No. The eldest brother has 5 spiritual roots, but he only reveals the aura of wood spiritual power. Also, although he also has the aura of nascent soul, he is much stronger than me. To transform into a god, you must be in the god transformation stage. And in the god transformation stage, you can condense your incarnation. So, this is the incarnation of Big Brother. Brother must have known something, so he sent an incarnation to help me. Otherwise, how could I have spiritual power in my body? Zhu Feng was extremely grateful and regarded the spiritual power that appeared in his body as coming from this incarnation. Tailing. He quickly contacted Aniao, but Aniao hadn't woken up yet, and there was no response. Without a clue, Zhu Feng chose to sit down. Yao Fuzong is dead, the crisis has been eliminated, and I have reached the nascent soul stage, and it seems that I will leave Yunzhou. When my eldest brother wakes up, I will ask him what I should do next. Zhu Feng's eyes shone brightly, and he was full of hope for the future of immortality. He thought that it might take a long time for him to get back to the step, even a few decades. But I didn't expect that just a few months after this reconstruction, I would be able to enter the nascent soul stage again. He sat down cross-legged and stood quietly in front of the wooden incarnation. Outside the tower, the atmosphere was chilly, and there were countless powerful nascent souls standing there, but no one dared to enter it. Boss Yelao and Fire Demon Saint haven't arrived yet. Could it be that they met Yao Fuzong? This matter was informed by Dan Lao all the way from Peeper Realm to Yasha Realm. Now that all the people were here, only Yesuanhua and Xiaohua were missing, so they naturally became suspicious. Their purpose was to kill Yao Fuzong. If Yao Fuzong was not in the demon refining tower, there was no need for them to enter. Most of the people here have entered the demon refining tower before. It's not that they are afraid of the demon refining tower, but that if something goes wrong after entering, it may take a lot of time. Lian Nishang said, Brother Ye and I came down along the sea route and indeed found the corpses of some sea monsters. Their death conditions were the same as those of the monster cultivators in Dongsheng realm. That's right, Yezi also said, we were afraid of missing clues, so we traced them all the way down, sometimes more than 1,000 miles apart, sometimes as little as more than 100 miles away, with no rules at all. This shows that Yao Fuzong did it casually. They didn't settle down anywhere. It wasn't until after Yunzhou that these traces disappeared. I also went to a gathering place for casual cultivators called Wangxian Sect to inquire about information. I never heard of anyone purchasing demon pills or going to sea to kill sea monsters. Finally, when we got here all the way, we discovered that the demon refining tower was lying across here. Yezi picked up the important ones and said, and everyone also said that there were no clues about Yao Fuzong on the road, so they planned to wait for Yesuanhua to come over, maybe he had encountered him. However, after waiting for 3 full months, there was no news. This made them think that Yesuanhua must have met Yao Fuzong. Yesuanhua was only in the foundation building stage, and his combat power was not strong. Xiaohua was also seriously injured, and the consequences were unimaginable. How about we search separately? Yu Tangzi was highly respected, so she did not go to the spirit world with the original group of nascent souls, but took the initiative to propose. That's all it can do. Elder Dan sighed and looked at Yezi. Does fellow deist Ye have any communication methods left behind by Elder Ye, such as telegraph notes? Yes, my father gave me some, but I have never used them. Yezi took out a lot of transmission talismans and distributed them to everyone, and then they formed groups of several people. They agreed that if there was any news, they would be notified immediately, and then they split up to look for it. But they have never been found inland, so most of them choose to go to the sea to search. Only Yezi and Lian Nishang stayed. I still think I should go in and take a look. Lian Nishang said. If you want to go, then let's go in together. Yezi didn't have any objections. Lian Nishang was very strong and chased Yao Fuzong for most of the Dongsheng realm. Of course, this is also the reason why Yao Fuzong was seriously injured. The two opened the bronze door and broke into the tower. At this time, Mu Jiahua finally found out the problem and woke up. Zhu Feng. Seeing Zhu Feng sitting cross-legged in front of him, he couldn't help but be slightly startled. Brother. Just hearing this tone, Zhu Feng recognized it and beamed with joy. But Mu Jiahua couldn't laugh. Instead, he asked with a straight face, why did you practice the magic of swallowing demons again? Aren't you afraid of escaping into the demonic path again and eventually becoming a demonic person? Compared with before, he knew the origin of the demonic skills. This was originally a demonic skill, but it was transformed into a skill suitable for human cultivation. But no matter how it is transformed, the essential problem still exists. It is extremely difficult for human beings to achieve enlightenment through demonic power, extremely difficult. Even in the spiritual world, he had never heard of anyone practicing demonic skills to great success. On the contrary, there are not a few people who practice evil arts. And these evil cultivators are unable to withstand the heavenly tribulation, so they try their best to suppress their own cultivation and find other ways. They want to break through the heavenly tribulation before it can react, and then ascend. Brother, Zhu Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard Mu's question. There's nothing I can do about it. I only have the foundation establishment stage, but Yao Fuzong has the nascent soul stage. He may even be in the Mahayana stage. If he takes away the demon refining tower, not only will everything you did back then be in vain, but the mortal world will also be devastated. In desperation, I wanted to use the devouring demonic skill to suck him dry, but I didn't expect that I wouldn't die. He was really sucked dry by me, but don't worry, I won't use this magic skill again. Zhu Feng briefly stated what he was thinking at that time and what he would think about the future. Mu Jiahua could not help but be stunned. He did not expect that things would turn out to be so twists and turns. Fortunately, Zhu Feng did not change his original intention. He stepped forward and patted his shoulder and said, I can rest assured that you have such an idea. However, since you have a weak foundation, it may not be appropriate to go to the spiritual world. These demonic powers, if it is not under your control, it is better not to go to the spirit world. I can rest assured that the demon refining tower is in your hands, but I still have to tell you, the spirit world is also full of right and wrong. Earth, if you want to go, you must at least be at the peak of the late nascent soul, and then make a breakthrough after reaching the spirit world. Only in this way can you have the power to protect yourself. Is the spiritual world in chaos? Zhu Feng heard this after listening to a lot of words. Yeah, it's messy. Mu Jiahua pinched a piece of his fingers, and his expression suddenly changed. Oops, there are only 2 months left in the secret realm of ascension. Zhu Feng, brother, I am just an incarnation now, and I don't know where my true body is yet. Someone once told my fortune, saying that I can only meet my real body in that secret realm. Since you're fine, it's time for me to go. Brother, are you in such a hurry? Zhu Feng originally wanted to say that he would take him back to Barren Stone Mountain to have a look, and that he would stay with the Zhu family so that he could rest assured. It's urgent. It's a long story, so I won't say it. Anyway, I'm going to the spirit world to prepare. In short, you should practice well and don't forget your Dao heart. Sword cultivation has great potential, but the magic way, remember. The wood incarnation wanted to talk a lot, but time was short. Even if he tried his best, it would take at least half a month to go to the passage to the spirit world. He didn't even have time to wait for a Niao to wake up and say a few words. He followed the light gate all the way until he left the demon refining tower and ran to the seaside. After finding the fragments of the universe, he ran to the desolate stone mountain. In the tower, Zhu Feng frowned and relaxed for a long time. Brother, even if the spirit world is dangerous, we sword cultivators should face the difficulties, not to mention that the sword way is honed from the hardships. I'm going to the spirit world too. The secret realm of ascension. A smile gradually appeared on Zhu Feng's mouth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1246. Mu Jiahua ran all the way without stopping. When he passed the Shiwen mountain, he suddenly stopped. He remembered that Ye Yuan said he was going back to Yejia village. Should he turn around and look for him? It's not impossible. Let's get to know each other. It's not too much to ask him to help me, right? If he is willing, he can return to the spirit world much faster. After all, at that time, he kicked himself to the Biffin realm. Who else could do this except him? Just do it. Zuyun knows the location of Yejia village, and the Shiwanda mountains are all mountains and forests, so it is perfect to use the wood escape technique. One day later, Mu incarnation stood in Yejia village. Zhu Xian, why are you here? Beside a stream, Lu Ruyan was washing clothes. He looked more like a mortal than a monk. She was surprised by the arrival of the wooden avatar. Where's Ye Yuan? Wooden avatar got straight to the point, frowning. He thought that the two of them would get tired of being together, but who knew that he only saw Lu Ruyan, which was a bit of a mistake. Brother Yuan has gone elsewhere. Do you have anything to do with him? Of course there is something wrong, otherwise why would I be here? The wooden incarnation rolled his eyes. It's better for you. You live a life without fighting against the world. After a while, you will ascend to the fairy world. You can walk at will. Unlike me, I can only struggle and run in the spirit world. Legs, and returns to the mortal world from time to time. Then wait a minute, I'll go find him. Lu Ruyan waved his hand, and his figure suddenly disappeared from the place, without any breath at all. Mujiawa stared. Good guy, Lu Ruyan is also in the stage of transcending the tribulation. Half an hour later, Ye Yuan came back carrying the corpse of a monster of unknown species. When he saw Mu's incarnation, he smiled and said, "Sorry, I happened to go hunting." Mujiawa said speechlessly, "You still want to eat?" "Of course I have to eat it. Although I am not hungry to death, I still have a craving for food. Come and try it. This is the red pig I just hunted from the Xifen realm. It tastes great when grilled." Ye Yuan threw the so-called red pig on the ground, propped it up on the spot with the thunder immortal hammer, and lit a fire to roast it. Mujiawa waited for Ye Yuan to finish all this before he asked, "Do me a favor and send me to the spirit world." Ye Yuan stared, "If you go to the spirit world, won't you leave by yourself?" "Time is tight, I'm afraid I won't be able to make it." "Why, what are you doing in a hurry to reincarnate? The spirit world can't escape." Ye Yuan. The wooden incarnation also stared, not afraid that the person facing him was the tribulation stage or the immortal queen who could ascend at any time. He cursed angrily, "I told you I was in a hurry." Ye Yuan frowned and said, "I remembered, you still want to go to the ascending immortal secret realm. Didn't I say that you should not go to the ascending immortal secret realm?" "I didn't want to go, but I had to go. You also know that I am an incarnation, and I have no choice but to come to you. Someone did the math for me and said that I can only find my true form in the Ascension secret realm. Just the right one. Who else can count you?" Ye Yuan shook his head, and then suddenly said, "Ji Tianqing. Do you know his name?" It was Mu's turn to be stunned for a moment. Qin Tianji vowed that no one could remember his real name. "Of course I know, are you a descendant of the Ji family?" "The Ji family is also famous in the fairy world. My father also told me not to deal with people named Ji, lest he figure out what color your underwear is." "Is it that powerful?" Mu Jianying was non-committal, but Qin Tianji said that he could not count himself. But then he thought, since he couldn't calculate, how could he know that he and his true body would meet in the secret realm of ascension? "Of course it's awesome." Ye Yuan didn't notice Mu's expression, but smiled, "It's nothing in this lower world, but in the fairy world, you have to be careful. Don't deal with Ji's family. The immortal realm is about the immortal realm. What I want to talk about now is the secret realm of immortal ascension. Do you know anything? Well, you are going to the immortal realm anyway. Just say, do you want to send me to the spiritual world? I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up on my own. Just give it away, It's not a big deal. Anyway, I plan to ascend after the ascension secret realm is over. This period of time is also very boring. You talk with me here, and I will send you directly to it then. Go, what do you think? Mujiawa was stunned and immediately agreed. Yayuan was very happy. When the red pig was roasted, he pulled off a pig's trotter and handed it over directly. Take it, et. Inadvertently touching Muji Unying's hand, Yayuan retracted his hand as if he was electrocuted, and a strange color appeared in his eyes. What happened? You were so surprised. Mujiawa had nothing to worry about and felt much more relaxed. Seeing Yayuan's reaction, he couldn't help but ask. You have changed. Your incarnation seems to be like a physical entity. Yayuan stared into Mujiawa's eyes. Changed. Mujiawa thought of the changes he had undergone since the separation of Ji Danzong and Yayuan. It's nothing more than the immortal soul hammer. He remained silent and said, what has changed? It's just that you have a beautiful woman to accompany you and you have forgotten me. Zuyun, I'm serious. Yayuan stared, angry. Lu Ruyan was afraid that the two of them would fight, and then it would be one-sided abuse, so he quickly stood up and prepared to smooth things over. Unexpectedly, Yayuan suddenly pulled out his Thunder Immortal hammer and smashed Mujiji on the head. Brother Yuan, what are you doing? Lu Ruyan suddenly reached out and snatched the hammer away. She was also in the stage of transcending tribulation, and the spells she practiced were not weak. But Yayuan was far more powerful than she imagined, and the Thunder Immortal hammer hit Mujiajia's forehead heavily. Boom! However, a gleaming golden hammer suddenly rushed out of the wooden incarnation's head and blocked the blow. The momentum is produced when two hammers intersect. Ha ha ha, wonderful, wonderful. Yayuan laughed, took back his Thunder Immortal hammer, and said, I didn't expect that Zuyun, you are just like me. Where is the same? Muji Unying was so frightened that he didn't react to the hammer just now, but now he also knew that Yayuan didn't hurt him, he was just testing and tried out the immortal soul hammer. He was rushing all the way, and he didn't have time to see what changes had happened to him. You are like me, you have become a hammer immortal. Yayuan's eyes were filled with laughter, and Mu turned his head black and cursed angrily, you still have time to joke. Isn't it? Yayuan put away his smile, pointed at the immortal soul hammer that was still guarding his eyebrows, and said, this hammer of yours is very good, it looks like an immortal weapon. Can you see this? Mujiawa stared with eyes wide and asked with an innocent face, but his heart was like a mirror. This hammer was inseparable from the immortal mansion. Maybe it was an immortal weapon. Of course, Yayuan Yang proudly waved his Thunder Immortal hammer and said, my hammer is imitated from my father's Chaos hammer. Although it is not an immortal weapon, it is still inseparable from an immortal weapon. It's far away. It only needs to be tempered by the fairy fire to naturally transform into an immortal weapon. The fact that your hammer can be blocked is enough to prove that your hammer is good. Moreover, your hammer is stored in your purple mansion. How can ordinary spiritual weapons do this? This is the truth. Mujiajia remained calm and said, I got this hammer by accident. Can you see the usefulness of this hammer? I can't tell what magical effect it has, but I can feel the blow just now. This hammer of yours is not like an ordinary spiritual weapon, but more like one used for forging. As he said that, he pointed to his Thunder Immortal hammer and said, you also know that my hammer is used to hit people, so it is full of momentum. But this hammer of yours lacks that sharp momentum. Instead, it only hits people. It's a good beat. It can be seen from this that Mujiawa is also in awe in his heart. She is worthy of being the queen of the immortal king, with extraordinary vision. So he stopped hiding anything and told what he had encountered in the 100 Refiners sect without hiding anything. You mean, there is a female cultivator with a single fire root who integrated the 5 elements of Chaos Sutra into her body? Then she can restrain all people with 5 spiritual roots. Yayuan frowned, thought for a moment, and then said, the 5 elements immortal in the immortal realm is not a good person. This 5 elements Chaos Sutra was created by him. Perhaps, it was to control all the 5 spirits that ascended from the lower world. Used by root monks. Hearing this guess, Mujianying was shocked and said, then why did he go to great lengths to create this technique and then spread it to the lower world for mortals to cultivate immortality? With such thoughts, it is better to capture some weak immortals in the immortal world to be pawns. It's easier for a strong man to come. Let me think about it. Yayuan held the hammer and thought for a long time, then said slowly, there is only one possibility, that is, the immortal with 5 spiritual roots has an extraordinary effect on him. Think about it, you will go through all the hard work to do it a thankless thing. Of course not. Then, it can be seen that the 5 spiritual root monks who ascended from the lower world may not be missing, but, dead. Dead? If you ascend, you will die, so why do you need to ascend? Muren murmured, thinking of the Wuxing Sanren who died in Yayuan's hands, and also of the 3 Wuxing sect members who had never left the mountain and were in the Mingda tribulation period. How would the monks in the lower world know about the situation in the fairy world? Just like me, if my father and mother didn't contact me occasionally, I wouldn't know these secrets. But what we can know is that the 5 elements immortals may be plotting something, but this matter will not be a major event in the immortal world, it can only be said to be beneficial to him. The wooden incarnation pondered, what can a monk with 5 spiritual roots have? It is nothing more than 5 kinds of spiritual roots. Cultivation is extremely slow and extremely hard. For example, among the children of the 5 elements sect, one unfortunate one will be kidnapped every month, and then the pharmacist will refine the 5 spirit blood pills and give them to 3 people during the tribulation period. Thinking of this, a flash of light suddenly flashed in Mu's mind. He stood up suddenly and said in shock, could it be that the 5 elements loose immortal wants to make those 5 spiritual root monks who ascended to make elixirs or something? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1247. What did you say? Yayuan was startled by the wood incarnation, and stood up with his eyes wide open. The two stared at each other, and soon Yayuan figured out the key, and said anxiously, it's possible. I heard from my father that there is indeed a saying in the fairy world that immortals are used as medicine to refine immortal pills. Moreover, this kind of pill has excellent efficacy. However, it is against the immortal way, and ordinary immortals only dare to use it secretly, but some evil immortals are promoting it. Could it be that the 5 elements loose immortals are going to refine the 5 spirits immortal pill? The wood incarnation gave this guest pill a name without thinking. At that time, he was hiding in the 5 elements soul trapping array, and he saw it clearly. The 3 tribulation ancestors ate the different 5 spirits pills, and the chaos palm was one palm after another, and the spiritual power seemed to be endless. And the few words obtained from the immortal mansion also knew that the 5 elements loose immortals had been enemies with the immortal emperor and had injured the immortal emperor. In other words, Wuxing Sanren is very powerful, and it is very likely that he also has such endless immortal pills to fight with the immortal emperor. He couldn't help but shudder, thinking of the 4th page of the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra. The 5 Elements Chaos Sutra is a mysterious technique written by this immortal, which aims to allow all people with 5 spiritual roots in the mortal world to embark on the immortal path. All 5 spiritual roots, all 5 spiritual roots. Embark on the immortal path, and then become your medicine? Mu Huaxin felt cold in his heart. Although it has not been confirmed, it is almost certain. Moreover, the techniques in the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra are all infinitely useful, but all of them are for the purpose of allowing cultivators to survive and continue to practice until they ascend. In addition, there is the Chaos Fist that is missing 4 roots, which must have been omitted by him. 20 roots of boxing are already extremely powerful, and the 4 directions divine beast fist that he has realized is even more powerful. If he were to reach the immortal realm, he would probably be even stronger. The 5 elements immortal must have reduced these 4 fist techniques to prevent the monks who ascended to the immortal realm from resisting. Perhaps, after ascending to the immortal realm, he could kill him by surprise with the 4 directions divine beast fist. But what is not known at present is how the 5 elements immortal could find the monks who had just ascended to the immortal realm with 5 spiritual roots. Yayuan, do you know about the situation of the ascension? Thinking of this, the wood incarnation immediately asked. Not sure, Yayuan shook his head and said, my parents haven't contacted me for a long time, but what is certain is that they will definitely appear in the same place when they ascend together. There are countless immortal ponds in the fairy world, but each immortal pond is controlled by a force. Basically, after ascending, they will be taken away by the corresponding force. After a period of labor, they will be free. And labor. The wood incarnation fell into deep thought. The 5 elements wanderer must be alone immortal. No matter how strong he is, he dare not fight with the force. He always makes trouble when the immortal emperor is alone. Once the immortal emperor takes people, he disappears without a trace. In other words, I am not afraid after ascending, but I am afraid after the labor is over. There is still some time to make a fuss. The wood incarnation was relieved and said, Yayuan, the 5 elements loose immortal is doing such evil things. Why don't you ascend to heaven and find your father to kill the 5 elements loose immortal? Are you kidding? Yayuan rolled his eyes and said, I don't know anything about the situation myself. Let's talk about it later. But this kind of person is really hateful. I will definitely kill him if I have a chance. Knowing that he still had room to turn around, the wood incarnation also put aside the affairs of the immortal realm. He couldn't do anything if he rushed back to the spirit realm. He had been running around all this time and never stopped. Fortunately, Yayuan agreed to send him directly to the Ascension secret realm, and the wood incarnation also decided to rest here for a while. 2 months later. Zuyun, it's time to go. Yayuan stood on the thunder immortal hammer and said to the wood incarnation. This time it may be a real separation. Yayuan was still thinking about what happened 2 months ago. He was about to ascend to the immortal realm, and he didn't know whether Zuyun could escape the clutches of the 5 elements loose immortal. Maybe, separation is a farewell forever. I know, but cultivating immortals always goes against the will of heaven. I'm not afraid. The wood incarnation was full of confidence and didn't take it seriously at all. What he feared most was the unknown danger. At least now he had guessed the conspiracy of the 5 elements immortals. Besides, he was not powerless. He had the universe glass mirror, the 4-direction divine beast fist that he had learned by himself, and now he had a thunder immortal hammer. In the lower realm, prepare as many means as possible, and you will always meet them when the time comes. At most, you can see if you can find other ways to go to the immortal world, and you may not meet the 5 elements immortals. If it doesn't work, go to Purgatory Mountain. That is the territory of the Lin family, which specializes in dealing with evil immortals. I think people like the 5 elements immortals don't dare to come to Purgatory Mountain. Take care of yourself. If you can meet in the immortal world, I will let my father give you a chance. Yayuan said seriously. Wood incarnation laughed and said, your father is also a hammer fairy, what good can he give me? It's better for your mother to give me some advice. Yayuan thought about it and said, it's not impossible, but my mother is very beautiful and the best at lying. I'm afraid you don't trust her. The two walked and talked. It must be said that Yayuan is very powerful. He actually flew all the way to the spirit world. Wood incarnation was surprised and asked, it's not that there is no tribulation period in the spirit world. It seems that it's not so easy for them to go to the mortal world. Ye Yuan pointed to the Thunder Fairy hammer under his feet. They don't have a fake fairy weapon. I see. Wood Incarnation seemed to be thinking about something, and almost understood what it meant. He nodded and stopped asking questions. He looked down at his feet, and saw a vast sea, and he couldn't tell the direction. Another day passed, and Wood Incarnation saw the world beyond the sky. Is the Ascension secret realm in Tianweishan? Well, to be precise, it is in Kunlun. Isn't Tianweishan the same as Kunlun? It's just a different name. You are wrong. Tianweishan is Tianweishan and Kunlun is Kunlun. Tianweishan belongs to the spirit world and Kunlun belongs to the fairy world. The Wood Incarnation was shocked. What did you say? Ye Yuan was surprised and said, you don't know. I know shit, the Wood Incarnation cursed and said, how long have I been in the spirit world? That's right, Ye Yuan smiled and said, Tianweishan was originally a fairy mountain in the spirit world. You know the origin of the name, but Kunlun is a fairy mountain that came down from the fairy world. There is no way to verify where it came from, but what is certain is that the Ascension secret realm is also something prepared by a great fairy in the fairy world. The Wood Incarnation Ye Yuan frowned and asked, is the Ascension secret realm related to the Demon Moon sect? The Demon Moon sect? Are you talking about a sect in the Nine Netherworld? Yes, have you heard of it? I've heard of it, Ye Yuan said, but the Demon Moon sect seems to practice very slowly and needs the power of the moon. Think about it, ordinary cultivators can practice 12 hours a day. But the Demon Moon sect can't do that. They can only practice at night, and they are also affected by the waxing and waning of the moon. I heard that the Demon Moon sect can use the power of the moon in the Ascension secret realm to control the entire secret realm. Mu Huashan didn't think of this in Yejia village at the time, which shocked Ye Yuan. He frowned and said, is there a moon in the Ascension secret realm? Generally speaking, secret realms are another space of nothingness, with incomplete laws and no sun or moon at all. But Mu Huashan didn't know this. Not only is there a moon, but there are also two wheels. Mu Huashan's words were shocking, making Ye Yuan's eyes widen. After a long while, he said, I suggest you not to go. If I don't go, my original body won't know the situation and might die in there. What should I do? The Wood Avatar shook his head firmly. Ye Yuan said, even if my original body dies, you still have this incarnation, and you have the immortal soul hammer, you can completely cultivate the incarnation into a real body. Moreover, you only have the wood spirit root, so you don't have to worry about the 5 elements loose immortals. The Wood Avatar refused and said, I need my original body to fully display my skills, and this incarnation is too restrictive for me. His spells can only be displayed by the chaos force to exert the greatest power. Even because he only has one incarnation, he can only use the Divine Eye technique for a few breaths, not to mention other more mysterious spells. It's difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. Ye Yuan was silent for a moment, and said, then you take care of yourself, I won't persuade you. If you encounter the original body, come out quickly. I don't want to say goodbye forever. Are you cursing me? The Wood Incarnation was dissatisfied, but he also knew that he was telling the truth, so he said, I know in my heart that the people of the Demon Moon sect seem to want to seize the fairy treasure, not kill people. The only person I need to worry about is Xianxia. After all, after returning to the original body, she has a suppressive effect on the 5 spiritual roots. I am alone, I am afraid I can't beat her. Zuyun, I have actually been thinking about a problem these days. Ye Yuan raised his head, looked into the distance, and said, Xianxia used the soul method to suppress some weaknesses of the Yuan Shen. However, your immortal soul hammer should be able to break this situation. Even if it doesn't work, at least it can weaken it. Are you serious? The Wood Incarnation suddenly breathed quickly. If this is the case, how could he still be afraid of Xianxia? even if Xianxia has reached the refining void stage. The only thing he was worried about was whether Xianxia had brought 3 people in the tribulation period. But this was no longer within his consideration. If he couldn't suppress it, he could completely merge his original body and blend into the 5 Elements sect again. The 5 Elements treasures were still waiting for him to take. After a while, there was a vibration in the distance, and the entire Tianwei made an unknown sound, which was so powerful that it seemed to come from underground, and also from the sky. Almost done. Ye Yuan said in a deep voice, interrupting the thoughts of the wood incarnation, with a solemn expression on his face. The wood incarnation held his breath and waited for Ye Yuan to send him down. Unexpectedly, Ye Yuan suddenly kicked him in the ass. Boom! A beam of light with a reddish-white color lit up at this moment, directly engulfing the wood incarnation. Zuyun, good luck to you. Ye Yuan stood still for a long time, and waited until the beam of light dissipated, then he murmured, and then turned and left. And under his feet, among the mountains, the ground was in a mess, with no one there. All the monks who came here were also sucked into the secret realm of ascension by the light column. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1248. Mujiajia was thrown into a strange world by Ye Yuan. He appeared on the top of a mountain peak and looked into the distance, but was blocked by patches of clouds. Looking up at the sky, 2 blood moons were emitting a strange red light. Moyo section. He murmured and looked down at his feet. Other than that, it doesn't seem to be any different from the outside world. According to Ye Yuan, the secret realm of Xianxia belongs to Kunlun, and Kunlun is a mountain from the immortal realm. Perhaps because of the spiritual power flowing inside, the monks in the spiritual world didn't know that this would be related to the fairy world. Even if there is, it is rumored that there is an immortal treasure inside. But Mujiajia knew that perhaps this was also news that the immortals from the upper realm deliberately spread to the lower realm. As for what purpose, he didn't know. If it wasn't for the purpose of meeting the true body, he would definitely not come here. Having guessed the layout of the 5 elements loose immortals, it is not difficult to imagine that there will be other immortals in the immortal world who have such calculations. I thought that the world of immortality was a world where individuals cannibalize people, but I never thought that the same would be true for the avenue that Kyoji has been pursuing all his life. After sighing slightly, Mu Incarnation cheered up. If it hadn't been for the sudden change in the immortal platform, there might have been more monks coming to the immortal secret realm. But with fewer monks, it doesn't necessarily mean that the secret realm of immortality will be more complete. At least he knows about the hidden dangers besides Mou sect, as well as Xianxia and the 3 tribulation ancestors. Perhaps, all the monks from the back mountain of 5 elements sect are here too. The void refining stage and the integration stage, neither one of them can be dealt with by his incarnation. It is also clear that the secret realm of immortality is tempting to the monks in the spiritual world. It's better to be careful. Since Jin Tianji has forgotten that I can meet his true form, we should be able to meet each other, but, should I take the initiative, or should I act cautiously? The wooden incarnation can see clearly how he will encounter the true body if he hides. But if you want to attract the attention of the main body, you must make some noise. But this is inappropriate, because the monks all come to this secret realm to find opportunities, and they use many methods. Especially after experiencing the Xianxia incident, I believe they will be more cautious. In this case, the crisis will be even greater. After thinking about it, Mujiawa came up with a way. Deploy the formation. The Dozhuangxing shifting formation consumes more spiritual stones, so just set up the 9 turning yang formation. No one can recognize this formation except the main body, and according to my own nature, after the main body sees it, it will definitely come in. Just do it. Mu Incarnation took out the spirit stone and started to make preparations. At the same time, Zuyun was also in the secret realm of Xianxia, but he didn't know that Mu Jianying had interacted with Xianxia, let alone the dangers he might encounter. To him, everything was at a loss. Zuyun, do you think we can really find the elixir here to help Ergu wake up? Xiu also followed because she didn't want to take her with her, but there was really no other way. Although it was much more convenient to be alone, it would be better to have someone to take care of her. If it weren't for Ergu, he wouldn't have wanted to come to the immortal secret realm. He knew something about the Demon Moon sect to some extent. It's definitely possible. Ergu hasn't woken up yet, so only the God Awakening Grass can be used. Zuyun has stayed in Xianguang sect for the past half-year. The two dogs were left in the Xianguang sect and taken care of by the casual cultivators. The situation has basically stabilized, and the power in his body has been neutralized and subsided by the elixir he refined, but he just can't wake up. In desperation, Zuyun brought Xiu here. Then in this secret realm of immortality, will there be a God Awakening Grass? Xiu was not proficient in this, so she asked carefully while looking around. She was still a little flustered in such a strange place. Yes, the awakening God Grass does not like yin or yang. There should be some in this place, and there may be quite a few. As soon as Zuyun entered the secret realm of Xianxian, he immediately made a judgment. The awakening God Grass is an extremely rare elixir that generally does not grow in the wild and is not easily cultivated. And this secret realm of immortality is uniquely blessed for awakening God Grass. Firstly, there is no sun here, and secondly, it opens once every 1,000 years, which means that as long as possible, you can find the 1,000-year-old awakening grass. The year is secondary. Zuyun himself can cultivate it in the medicine garden. The main thing is to find the elixir. Be careful. The monks who can come to this secret realm are definitely not weak. He and Xiu were both dressed up in disguise and used the talisman of changing the world. While waiting for the secret realm to open, he met many monks, ranging from the stage of transformation to the stage of transcending tribulation. This made him know that the monks who died on the immortal platform were just the tip of the iceberg, and there were still many capable people in the spiritual world. The two walked carefully in the secret realm, specifically looking for dark corners, where it was easier to find the awakening grass. Little did they know, there was another young man walking slowly on a plain with his arms and legs clasped behind his back, exuding the aura of keeping strangers away from him. Is this the secret realm of the immortal? It's nothing more than that. Zhu Feng raised the corners of his mouth slightly and said calmly. After Mu Incarnation left, he immediately appeared from the tower and rushed towards the Peepa realm. The passage to immortality is not a secret, and Lin Xiaoqi will not ask anything. As long as someone is willing to go to the spirit world, he will take the initiative to take them there. He didn't know Zhu Feng, and without saying much, he led Zhu Feng to the spiritual world. Zhu Feng didn't even need to ask around. He followed some people and found the secret realm of Xianxian. So I entered it naturally. What's weird is nothing more than these 2 rounds of the demon moon. I don't know what will happen if I use the demon devouring technique to devour the power in this secret realm. Although he forcibly suppressed his thoughts and did not want to use the devouring demon technique anymore, after coming to the spirit world, he discovered his insignificance. If it weren't for the sword cultivator, and if it weren't for the extraordinary small sword formed from the demon refining tower, he would have been unable to move even an inch in the spirit world. It took him several months to get used to the pressure of the spirit world. This also made him involuntarily desire power. Once the desire is gone, it is difficult to eliminate the thoughts in the mind, but fortunately, Zhu Feng can still restrain himself at this time. I don't know what the danger that Big Brother mentioned will be like. When the secret realm opened, he also saw many monks who could not recognize the realm, which made his expression somewhat solemn. Fortunately, after entering the secret realm, that power disappeared. Touching the demon refining tower, he formed a connection with Niao. How much do you know about the secret realm of immortal ascension? It is said that there are immortals here, but it is only said that my previous master came once. Niao thought for a moment and said to Zhu Feng. Yao Fuzong has been here? What kind of opportunity did he get? Zhu Feng was slightly stunned and then asked. Listen to what you said. Niao also pondered for a moment and said, it seems that he is really different after he comes back. Let me think about it. After a few breaths, Niao suddenly exclaimed, I remembered that he got an ancient book in the secret realm, and then spent decades in seclusion, and finally came out, and his temperament became like this. Is it the 10,000 demons Jew? That's all Zhu Feng knew about Yao Fuzong. No, Niao's figure poked out from the demon refining tower and said, the secret of 10,000 demons is a technique that Yao Fuzong has been practicing. What he got is not a technique. Could it be? Zhu Feng raised his eyebrows and said, is this the refining method of the demon refining tower? Niao told him that the demon refining tower was made from the secret method of the fairy world and was of no power. But because it lacks the power of law, it cannot become an immortal weapon. The method of building a tower was obtained from an ancient fairy book. Based on this information, Zhu Feng came to this conclusion. It's possible, extremely possible. Niao breathed heavily and said, I was troubled by inner demons at the time, so I didn't pay attention to it. I just heard him say there was a way to get rid of my evil thoughts, and then I refined the demon refining tower, which also consumes resources. It seems that this secret realm of Xianxia is really related to Xianxia. Zhu Feng held his chin and said in a deep voice. The secret realm of Xianxia has been around for a long time, Niao said. The time of its existence cannot be verified. It is said that it is earlier than Xianxia Terrace. It's just a pity that we didn't catch up with the emergence of Xianxia Terrace. Otherwise, with your heavenly appearance, you can go to the immortal realm in one fell swoop through the ascension platform. It is no secret that the secret realm of immortal Sheng appeared in the immortal platform, but after the secret realm of immortal was born, no one naturally discussed the immortal terrace anymore. So they didn't know the fact that the Xianxian terrace had been destroyed. If you didn't cultivate yourself, there's no point in ascending. Zhu Feng had a different view on this. Niao said, you don't understand. The key to ascending to immortality is the word immortal, whether it is to ascend to the enlightenment or pass through the platform of ascending to immortality, it will trigger the immortal light to come to the world. The immortal light fortifies the body and changes the body, thereby becoming a real immortal and living as long as the heaven. Zhu Feng smiled and said, so, are immortals immortal or immortal? Although there is only one word difference, the meaning is very different. It should just be immortality. Niao's expression turned a little ugly. Even in the lower realm, he had heard of the fact that immortals would perish. As you said, if you continue to practice in the mortal world, the final result will be a fairy light. Even if it is the same as the one on the immortal platform, the process is completely different. Can you guarantee that the fairy world is peaceful, and the monks is it a paradise? There will still be dangers. If you have not experienced the struggle of life and death, you will not be able to survive in the fairy world. Zhu Feng was deeply touched by this, because he had experienced life and death several times. Cultivation of immortality is against nature, but more importantly, you must follow your true heart. Only through practice can one remain calm in the face of danger and survive. This is immortality. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1249. I understand what you mean. On the outside, he had lived for tens of thousands of years, but he could not see things as clearly as a young monk in his 30s. It's no wonder that humans are the spirits of all things, and among demon cultivators, there are also many of the same kind who choose to disperse during the demon saint tribulation and start cultivating again in human form. It's good that you understand, Zhu Feng smiled slightly and said, but this secret realm is not something that my level of strength can forcefully break into. The world is all about profit. If we don't collect magic medicine or find treasures, we will treat it as one. It would be great to have a good walk and meet my eldest brother. He came here just to find Zuyun, hoping to be able to help. The demon refining tower is his only means, so he needs to hide his clumsiness and not reveal his trump card as soon as he comes out. No one knew him, and he had an indifferent expression. Most immortals had found a companion early, which made Zhu Feng happy to be quiet and undisturbed. Without mutual interests, how can we kill people and seize treasures? Zhu Feng really understood. From time to time, he would talk to a Niao, not talking about big issues, just making small talk. Finally, a few days later, he saw many monks heading in the same direction. There is foundation building and elixir formation. There is also a refining stage and a combined stage that he cannot see through. He even felt a few terrifying auras passing by. Is there any strange treasure born over there? Niao poked his head out of the demon refining tower again and asked curiously. I don't know, but I don't think so. Zhu Feng stared in that direction for a few seconds and then said. How do you say this? Niao now sincerely admired Zhu Feng and asked immediately. If it is a treasure, the monks under the nascent soul will definitely not pass by, because once there is a powerful fight, the aftermath of spiritual power can wipe out their souls. Has the nascent soul stage begun? Will they teleport, and how can they protect themselves? Force. Niao understood, and asked, then let's go see the fun too? Maybe we can find news about Zuyun. Brother is not a person who likes excitement, and he is here to do something, to stop some conspiracy. If there are too many people, it is not his style. But don't forget, there are more people, but you can fish in troubled waters. If the person he wants to find comes to watch the fun, or if that person wants to snatch the treasure, he will definitely come. Zhu Feng smiled and said, can you think of this? Not bad, let's go. He had long planned to go there, but he couldn't go too early, otherwise it would attract too much attention. If he acts like he is just a swordsman watching the fun, others will not pay attention to him. Zhu Feng took out the demon refining tower, then stepped on it and flew in that direction. On the way, he met several nascent souls. With a smile on his face, Zhu Feng clasped his fists and said politely, fellow Taoists, do you know what happened over there? Seeing that they were from the same realm and were sword cultivators with extremely strong combat power, the three nascent soul stagers couldn't help but be a little polite. One of them said, fellow Taoist, you're too polite. I'm Ying Vuchang. According to the news from the fellow Taoist in front, it's said that it's a natural phenomenon. I'm afraid a strange treasure will be born, so we'll go and see it. Exotic treasure? What kind of exotic treasure is it? Zhu Feng said with feigned interest. It is said that it triggered the blood moon in the sky. Although we won't be able to acquire such rare treasures, taking a few glances at them from a distance will surely be of great help to our cultivation. It is not a coincidence. I see, Zhu Feng nodded and said with a smile, fellow Daoist Ying can see clearly. I can't wait for the Yuan Ying stage. It is said that more than 10 ancestors of the tribulation have come to the secret realm of immortality, and there are hundreds of Mahayana stages, and the integration stage. The number of refining virtual gods is even more countless. How many can I see? When your eyes are satisfied, how can you dare to think about the treasure? The one who spoke at this time was a female nascent soul cultivator. Seeing that Zhu Feng had a pretty face and clear eyes, but lacked a ruthless look, he thought that this might be an ordinary cultivator who had just come out to practice. He could show his kindness, and then pulled him away. Come to your own team. After the rare treasure incident is over, you can also go hunting for treasures in the secret realm together. Zhu Fengzheng had this intention. A single person in a gathering place would be too conspicuous, but it could deceive others, so he took the initiative and said, "What this fairy said is that I was just released from a spiritual mountain by the master, and then I caught up with this Sheng. I don't know much about the fairy land. I wonder if the fairy and fellow Taoists can come with us." It couldn't be better. The female cultivator showed her most beautiful smile. So, Zhu Feng joined the three people, walked together, and rushed over there. As time went by, the so-called place where the rare treasure was born gathered monks within hundreds of miles. There are even many monks who are hurrying towards this place, fearing that if they are late, they will miss this opportunity to feast their eyes. On a hilltop not far from here, several demon cultivators shrouded in black robes were watching quietly. Why is the power of the demon moon being drawn so much? The speaker was clearly a woman, but their heads were covered with hats, so no one could recognize her without making a sound. Sect Master, it seems that someone has set up a formation here. Behind him, another man in black said. Is what you said to me true? Don't dare, everything I said is true. I once wanted to rush into the center of the light pillar and use my demon moon skill to draw out the power of the demon moon, but I didn't expect that I would be spinning in place for several hours. Apparently a spell appeared here. We at the Demon Moon sect are well aware of the formations in the Xianxia secret realm, but there have never been any records here. The sect leader nodded, knowing that her subordinates were telling the truth, otherwise, she would not have rushed back from the Moon Demon ruins after receiving the news. The Demon Moon sect had been preparing for thousands of years, and it was her turn to wait until the time was right. It has nothing to do with the other monks, but she needs to prepare something to activate the altar in the ruins, so as to attract a large amount of the power of the demonic moon, allowing her to reach the fairy world directly from here. If the Immortal Ascension platform is the Immortal Ascension platform for spiritual monks, then the Immortal Ascension secret realm belongs to their Demon Moon sect's exclusive Immortal Ascension secret path. This is where the name comes from, but others don't know about it. They think it is an artifact left behind by an immortal in the secret realm of the immortal. There are fairy weapons, but they are not the fairy weapons they imagined. They are just ordinary items used by immortals, but for people in the lower world, if they are stained with immortal charm, they are also rare treasures. But as the secret realms of immortality were opened again and again, the rumors became more and more mysterious. Let's take a look. If it's a formation, I think those greedy monks will find a way to break it. Then we can find the culprit. We can just watch the fun here. Anyway, ordinary people at the Demon Moon site, if you can't find it, don't worry about someone ruining your previous preparations. The sect leader had already made a decision and said calmly. A few days later, the foot of the mountain was already surrounded by monks. Zhu Feng and the others carefully squeezed to the front. When they saw the looming formation wall, their expressions suddenly changed. But the female cultivator suddenly said, "Array." There were people all around, and as soon as these words came out, they immediately became the target of public criticism. There were even several powerful spiritual consciousnesses that immediately locked onto the female cultivator, and the surrounding crowd also retreated with a crash. "Girl, do you know formations?" The words came from the sky, and everyone looked up. Unexpectedly, there was a female cultivator in red floating in the sky. She was extremely coquettish. "Red boy fairy!" Someone in the crowd shouted. The red child fairy lowered her eyes and looked over there, giggling. "I didn't expect that after 10,000 years, someone would still recognize me." As soon as she finished speaking, she stretched out her hand, and there was someone beside her out of thin air. It turns out to be an ant in the void refining stage. "Come on, tell me what you know about my life. Tell it for everyone to hear. If you tell it well, you will be rewarded. If you tell it badly, You will die. His face changed when he said it. He was still smiling before, but when he said the word death, he suddenly heard Yinfen number 4, and even the 2 blood moons seemed to be shaking. Rumors, rumors. During this period of refining, he was trembling all over. He didn't expect that the Red Girl Fairy could be so powerful. He had obviously restrained his spiritual power, but he was still accurately found. The aura was so overwhelming that he couldn't breathe. Gee, am I scary? The red-haired fairy suddenly smiled again, as if the spring breeze had come suddenly overnight. During the void refining stage, he breathed a sigh of relief again, and then said loudly, "It is said that the Red Girl Fairy caused the immortal tribulation more than 10,000 years ago, and wanted to carry it with her body, but who would have thought that the thunder tribulation dissipated and the immortal light came to the world? But the person is missing. Seniors and juniors have heard of this secret, but they don't know anything else." "Oh," the red girl said in a provocative tone, still with a smile on her face. Just when everyone was surprised and wanted to hear what happened next, they didn't expect that with a bang, the head of the man in the void refining stage suddenly exploded into a ball of blood mist. The body also fell heavily towards the ground. The air in the field is stagnant. He was still alive and well in the void refining stage before, but he died like this? It's just a matter of counting time. Humph, that's the only stain on my mind that I've practiced for tens of thousands of years, and you actually said it in public? You're looking for death. She said something sternly, then looked at the female cultivator with a smile. She raised her hand and the female cultivator suddenly disappeared. When he appeared again, he was by her side again, exactly the same as he was in the void refining stage. "What's your name? Tell me about it, sister." Previously, she called herself my mother and killed a person in the void refining stage with every move, but now she was calling her sister in a pleasant manner. "Senior, my junior's name is Ying Wankaiu." Crack. The red girl fairy slapped Ying Wankaiu away. "Younger sister." Ying Vuchang screamed, but he didn't dare to move. Ying Wankaiu was flying upside down, vomiting blood as he flew, and his clothes were all stained. The color was very similar to that of the red girl fairy. But as she was flying, she suddenly disappeared again. Everyone was shocked, but they heard the red girl fairy speak again. "What's your name? Tell me about it, sister." Everyone came to their senses again and saw that Ying Wankaiu was in her original position again. If they weren't covered in blood, the scene just now and the same question from the red girl fairy would have made them think they were hallucinating. Ahem. Ying Wankaiu's face was full of fear and she was vomiting blood. The red girl fairy was not in a hurry and showed a strange smile, as if she was waiting for her to recover a little. She didn't realize it was her fault. "Senior, junior." This time, without even saying his name, the other half of Ying Wankaiu's face was slapped again and flew out again. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzwan Xianxia. Chapter 1250. No one knows why the red boy fairy is so persistent and keeps repeating that sentence while attacking Ying Wankaiu. But they dare not ask any more questions when such a powerful person acts, for fear of being implicated. Except Ying Vuchang, who is unwilling to give up. But despite this, he can't do anything. Because he is also afraid of death. Until Ying Wankaiu was dying, someone finally couldn't stand it anymore and flew into the sky to block the last slap of the red boy fairy. "Sister Red Boy, if you hit her again, she will die. She is also a female cultivator in the tribulation crossing stage. If she dies, she dies. I don't believe that among so many cultivators, there is still one person who can understand this formation." Hearing this, Zhu Feng's pupils shrank. He is very sure that no one present can understand it except him. Even if the formation is talented, it is very difficult to break it. The red boy fairy will attack without explanation, which means that her patience is very poor. If she hits them one by one, it will be her turn soon. Fortunately, the female cultivator who came later said, "Sister, you will waste a lot of time like this. Why don't you let this ignorant woman admit her fault to you?" Red Boy Fairy giggled and said, "Sister Xianxia, are you begging for her?" "Sister, I just think that this will waste a lot of time. There are more mysteries in the Ascension secret realm than this one. If you stay here for too long, you may miss other opportunities." "If you miss it, you miss it," Red Boy Fairy said indifferently, "but sister's rules cannot be broken." Fairy Xianxia sighed. Red Boy Fairy is not easy to mess with. Although she is strong, she dare not guarantee that she can win a single move. If she fights, even if Ying Wanqiu is saved, it is really unwise. There is no need, and it will waste time. Seeing that Fairy Xianxia retreated, Red Boy Fairy turned to look at Ying Wanqiu again. "What's your name? Tell me." And this time, Ying Wanqiu's response was finally no longer the same as before. Sister, my name is Ying Wanqiu." "Not bad, not bad," Fairy Red Boy smiled and clapped her hands, like an innocent girl. If everyone hadn't witnessed her hurting people invisibly and forcing Fairy Xianxia to retreat, no one would believe that the blood on these delicate hands was from Ying Wanqiu, who was called Sister. "Sister Wanqiu," Fairy Red Boy said with a pleasant face, squatted in front of her, looked into her eyes and said, "Do you understand the formation?" "Sister, I know a little bit." Ying Wanqiu also understood. Who would have thought that her respect for the senior was the reason for her injury? "It's not enough to know a little bit," Fairy Red Boy said, changing her face. She was a little dissatisfied with Ying Wanqiu's response and said, "If you break the formation, I will give you, my good sister, a chance. How about it?" Ying Wanqiu's eyes suddenly lit up. "It doesn't require spiritual power to break the formation. As long as you find the formation pattern and find the law of the operation of these formation patterns, the formation will naturally break. It's not that it's difficult for her. The important thing is the opportunity. Isn't that why they came to the Ascension secret realm? Although the tribulation stage is not as good as the immortal, it is also extremely rare for the nascent soul stage. Moreover, she also saw through that there are so many tribulation stages in the Ascension secret realm, and there are those who have never come out of the fusion stage and the Mahayana stage. Their nascent soul stage is undoubtedly the lowest level of existence, no different from those who have been practicing qi and building foundation. In the previous moment of life and death, Ying Wanqiu realized this truth. "Sister, I will try it now, please wait for a moment." Thinking of this, Ying Wanqiu called her sister more smoothly. When she was about to prop herself up and fly towards her previous position, she didn't expect that the Red Boy Fairy would wave her hand and slap her over. Bang! Ying Wanqiu fell heavily to the ground. Cough cough. Unprepared, this blow was heavy, but it prevented Ying Wanqiu from dying. This scene shocked everyone. "Didn't I say I helped you break the formation? Why do you still want to hurt others?" She dared not speak, and buried this anger deep in her heart, fearing that the Red Boy Fairy would find out. "Sister, I am in a hurry, so I can only let you go quickly." In the sky, the Red Boy Fairy's voice sounded again, very nice, but it made people feel cold all over. "Before, you beat someone for half a cup of tea just to address him. Now you make people hurry up and slap him with a palm." Ying Wanqiu's Taoism collapsed. She thought she could survive, but she almost died. She thought she could survive again with the help of the tribulation period, but the Red Cloud Fairy also retreated. She finally found the problem and could survive, but the palm just now almost made her die again. Even if the formation was broken, the so-called opportunity. Ying Wanqiu's hair was disheveled, like crazy, with red light and flames all over her body, flying towards the sky. Bang! But as soon as she rose, Ying Wanqiu's body exploded, leaving no trace of blood or bones. Everyone knew that this was done by the red boy fairy. She was still holding out her hand, with her index finger pointing in that direction. Sister Huanqiu, what a pity. I was planning to leave you a whole body after you broke the formation. Ying Huanqiu died just like that. But the red boy fairy locked her eyes on Ying Vuchang. Swoosh. I saw him flashing, but instead of escaping, he was caught by the red girl fairy on his side, where Ying Huanqiu was standing before. Tell me, sister, what's your name? As if nothing had happened, the red girl fairy's smile remained unchanged. Gudong. Ying Vuchang swallowed his saliva and said stiffly, Sister, my brother's name is Ying Vuchang. Your surname is Ying, too, the red child fairy giggled. No wonder you showed your anger when my sister sent my sister off in Wanqiu. Why, was it because you couldn't send her off on her last journey? Sister, brother, don't dare. Ying Vuchang lowered his head in shame and hatred. It's okay if you don't dare, the red girl fairy said with a smile, I'm most afraid of others' resentment. Who was the last person who resented me? She blinked and then said, forget it, I can't remember. Let's just talk about you. Since the younger brother doesn't hold a grudge, the older sister still has to do what she should do. If you didn't send her on her last journey, then the older sister will give it to you. Let's go on the road with him. As soon as the words fell, everyone in the audience was shocked. Ying Vuchang turned around and tried to escape. But if you want to cross the tribulation and trap Yuanying, you only need a piece of spiritual consciousness. Boom. There was a muffled thunder in the sky. Half of Ying Vuchang's body remained here, but the other half appeared from half a mile away. He didn't even complete the teleportation before he was suppressed by spiritual consciousness. Bang! The two halves of the body exploded violently, and bloody light fell from the sky, like fireworks, but not bright at all. The place was completely silent. Countless monks gathered there, but no one dared to stand up and say a word. Even Fairy Xianxia closed her eyes slightly. Zhu Feng's eyes narrowed slightly, and he felt a sense of crisis. Call out! Without any warning, his figure appeared in front of the red boy fairy. What's your name? Tell me about it, sister. The red-haired female fairy left as usual. Zhu Feng grinned and said sweetly, Sister, my brother's name is Zhu Feng. It turns out it's brother Zhu Feng, the red boy fairy praised, you should be the two of us who came together. What do you think, sister? Zhu Feng seemed relaxed, but he was trying to calm down in his heart, and everyone present couldn't help but sweat for Zhu Feng. Although they have never met, perhaps Zhu Feng's moment will be their next moment. But Zhu Feng's answer was beyond all of their expectations. My brother thinks that my sister is very good. I think as long as this formation is broken, my sister will definitely have an opportunity to give it to my brother. Bang bang bang. The red girl fairy clapped her little hands, obviously this answer satisfied him very much. I see that brother Zhu Feng is so majestic and impressive that my sister is also very excited. No wonder it is like this. It turns out that he also understands the formation. Zhu Feng stretched out his hand and pointed in that direction, and said energetically, Sister, if my brother can't break this formation in 3 breaths, he will go on his own. Okay, okay. The red girl fairy clapped harder and said, the 3-breath time is quite fast, so my sister won't rush you down, you can go there slowly by yourself. Sister, don't worry, brother, come as soon as you go. Zhu Feng Xiaosa put 2 fingers on his forehead and said these words. The next moment, he appeared at the edge of the formation wall. Sister, I want to start. Zhu Feng shouted, and stretched out an index finger in the direction of the red boy fairy. 1. At this moment, Zhu Feng was extremely sure that this was the 9 turns and 9 suns formation. After the 2 Ying Vuchang brothers died without any warning, he had long been prepared to be implicated. So, when faced with the red girl fairy, he chose to do the opposite. Only by attracting her attention can he have a chance to escape. And the only thing to rely on is this 9 turns and 9 suns formation. He stretched out his index finger on his right hand, attracting everyone's attention, including the red girl fairy. Even fairy Xianxia and some hidden tribulation powers are like this. No one noticed that Zhu Feng's left hand had already formed a formation in an instant. Just when they all thought that Zhu Feng would then extend his middle finger and read out the second number. 3. The accident happened, and before anyone could react, they saw the 9 turns and 9 yang formation suddenly blooming with light, which was extremely dazzling. The Red Boy Fairy and other powerful experts quickly channeled their spiritual consciousness, but found that the place where Zhu Feng stood was empty. Got fooled. The red-haired female fairy, who was so domineering that even Xianxia fairy, who was in the tribulation stage, was tricked by a nascent soul stage. Moreover, he even let him run away. Damn, damn. The red girl fairy was angry, and her red robe changed color because of it, becoming darker red, even darker than the blood moon in the sky. At the same time, her charming appearance also changed, turning into an old woman. Boom! Boundless anger suddenly fell on the formation, and countless low-level monks were affected, and their bodies and spirits were instantly destroyed.